Great Dane explain. Boom! We have a lot of great news to get into, but before we do, let's start the day off right. Let's get a little Bible lesson from the Reverend Joseph Malarkey Biden himself. He will be reading a passage from the book of Psalms today, my friends.
If we do, and I'm sure we can proclaim the psalmist.
What?
With the psalmist who wrote these following words. The Lord is my strength and my shield.
Oh, Joey, I think it's time to go back to Sunday school, you devout Catholic, you. It is psalmist. I'm pretty sure the P is silent. I mean, maybe he thought David was a palm reader, palmist, I don't know. Either way, there he is, Joseph Biden, the devout Catholic, in his own words. So, for a quick overview of where we stand today, this is from Kevin McCullough, Pennsylvania, hashtag certification halt upheld. We will get into that, as that is going to be the tipping point going forward. Arizona, legislative hearing scheduled for Monday. I will be there in person, doing my duty as an American citizen, as a patriot of this country, and as someone who wants a free and fair election. Wisconsin, petition on 150K invalid ballots going forward. In Nevada, an evidentiary hearing scheduled as well. And if you think those evidentiary hearings are pointless, think again. You see, the one that took place last week in Pennsylvania that was watched by millions of people is in large part responsible for why the certification is now being halted again. In Georgia, you have two cases the 11th Circuit grants expedited review of, and in Michigan, you have 100 exhibits of evidence in Sidney Powell's case. So a quick reminder, last week, you had an injunction filed. They halted the certification on Wednesday. They said the mail-in voting was unconstitutional because they never amended the Constitution. They just did it anyways. Well, Friday, the corrupt Pennsylvania Supreme Court said, who cares about the Constitution? And they threw it out. Well, Miss McCullough has stepped in. Pennsylvania Judge Patricia A. McCullough filed a memorandum of opinion on Friday stating that the Pennsylvania preliminary election certification injunction, the one that was sent on Wednesday last week that we just talked about, it was properly issued and should be upheld. So this means the Commonwealth is now barred from taking any further steps to certify the results. Issues raised found to be of statewide and national concern, and she thinks it's going to succeed. So what happened? Well, before the election, Pennsylvania wanted to amend the state's constitution, allowing for mass mail-in voting, meaning they would send a ballot to every single person in the state that's a registered voter, and apparently some unregistered voters, even if they didn't request a ballot. One problem, they never amended the Constitution. They backed out because they knew it wouldn't pass and they didn't have time. They bypassed that step and had the far-left governor sign it into law. Well, that is against the Constitution. You have to amend it before you can do that. Sorry, you shall not pass. So where do we go from here? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is from Legal Insurrection. Don't worry, I'm not going to read the whole thing, just the last two paragraphs. Calm down. This is not a final ruling on the merits. It's meant to prevent Pennsylvania from taking any more steps until the court finally rules. So they can't do anything else. No one's rushing this through. Given how the shady Pennsylvania Supreme Court has ruled previously on election matters, expanding procedures beyond what even the legislature adopted, I don't see how this survives the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Meaning the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has to take a look at it, they just can't toss it out. Even after they take a look at it, they will likely say, who cares, you lose. Well, from there it goes to the United States Supreme Court, where we know John Roberts and the three liberal justices will defer to the state Supreme Court, meaning they will say, we absolve ourselves from this decision. Of course, we're going to stand with the previous decision of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Well, unfortunately for them, the Supreme Court is now 6-3. So a Roberts defection, meaning Shady Roberts, will likely side with the Democrats. It won't matter because it won't be a 4-4 deadlock then. The other 5 conservative judges vote together and this thing is overturned, if not thrown out altogether. And who are those 5 judges? Amy Coney Barrett, Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, all 3 hired by Donald Trump, Justice Alito, who is a strict constitutionalist, and last but not least, Clarence, Joe Biden tried to ruin my life and my career, Thomas. Boom! And here is the exact words from Patricia McCullough herself. This court can state that the petitioners have a likelihood of success on the merits of its Pennsylvania constitutional claim. Boom! Winning! Woo, 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 woo. Get those coconut milk soy lattes out. Get ready for your social justice vegan Lunchable, chow down, and frankly, get ready to call mama. Because you are about to see an absolute panic from the left when this makes mainstream news, because they can only avoid it for so much longer. You see, these leftists, they're too busy watching CNN, or they think everything is good to go and they're reading the Daily Beast.
Joe Biden's dogs have told this pet psychic a lot about their beloved master and his future. Pet psychic Beth Lee Crowder says Joe Biden's dogs, Major and Champ, told her they are excited to live in the White House. They also said their master will be a great president.
Wow, some really hard-hitting news coverage on Joe Biden there. I'm sure later they will ask him what kind of ice cream he likes and what's his favorite type of Jell-O for breakfast. Pathetic. And if you didn't think the Pennsylvania mail-in voting was shady, well, this is from the madman himself. Let's take a look here. Normal election votes: Donald Trump 2.8 million, Joe Biden 1.4 million. Mail-in votes: 594,000 for Donald Trump and almost 2 million for Joe Biden. Well, there's just one problem. Pennsylvania reports having mailed out 1.8 million ballots, of which 1.4 were returned. Yet, the total mail-in votes number 2.589 million.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
And what's taking place this morning? Well, you see, you already have 26 Pennsylvania House Republicans calling for the withdrawal of certification of presidential electors, plus 8 Pennsylvania senators. And we're just getting started, baby. So that is what's going on today, my friends. It will be a bumpy road from here on out, but when we get to the end of that bumpy road, we will see the Constitution being upheld, we will see a fraudulent election that was exposed, and Donald J. Trump will be serving 4 more years as the US president. And honestly, frankly, with the amount of shadiness that took place in this election, I think he should be available to run for 8 more years. Sound good to you? All right, this is Great Dane Explain. Let me know your thoughts below. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you very soon. Peace.
That are legal and constitutional that could enable Trump to stay in office without actually winning the vote. The system of electing the president is complicated because it was not designed to be directly democratic. The Constitution calls for states to choose the presidential electors, who in turn gather to vote for the president. Over time, states have passed laws that ensured their state's popular vote for the presidency would determine the electors. But those are laws, not a constitutional obligation. Now, imagine the scenario during election week. Trump is leading on November 3rd, but Joe Biden pulls ahead in the days following. Republicans file objections to tens of thousands of mail-in ballots. Democrats file countersuits. Taking account of the confusion, legislators decide to choose the electors themselves. Here's the worry. Of the 9 swing states, 8 have Republican legislatures. If one or more decide that balloting is chaotic and marred by irregularities, they could send what they regard as the legitimate slate of electors, which would be Republican. Democrats may object and file lawsuits. In some of those states, Democratic governors or secretaries of state could send their own slates of electors to Washington. That would add to the confusion, but that might well be part of the Republican plan. Because you see, when Congress convenes on January 6th to tally the electors' votes, there would be challenges to the legitimacy of some electors. It's possible congressional Republicans could decide that disputed states should simply not be counted. Suppose in this scenario, Michigan's votes are invalidated. That would ensure that neither candidate would get to 270 electoral votes. At that point, the Constitution clearly directs that the House of Representatives vote to determine the presidential election. But it does so with each state casting a single ballot. If the current numbers hold, there would be 26 state delegations that are Republican and 23 Democratic, with 1 tied. So the outcome would be to re-elect Donald Trump. Trump doesn't need to do anything other than to simply accept this outcome, which is constitutional.